featuring plums from our early days cooking in restaurants. I'm so happy that you came with your husband and your daughters.
Thrilled to be here.
Oh, it's so nice to have you here. So what kind of plum cake is this?
These are going to be using our Flavor Fall plums, which are one of our later varieties. So I love these because of the dark red color that looks so beautiful in the cake when you turn it out. So
they taste delicious.
Yes, they're amazing.
This is the Flavor Fall?
Flavor Fall plum.
Look at that,
one of our last ones. What I love about this cake is that you can use any kind of fruit in it. You can use peaches, nectarines. Flavor King pluots are amazing in it.
Well, we got Becky's recipe online, and we made it for my birthday. It turned out wonderfully.
Oh, good.
There was nothing left, and that was an 18-inch cake pan. So
That's a very good cake.
We used a lot of peaches. So what's your favorite part of working on that fruit farm?
Well, I get to eat amazing fruit all day long. We have the best fruit there is at my fingertips all the time. So
and you were trained as a chef.
Yeah.
And then you worked for some of my favorite chefs.
I did, and it was wonderful training for working on the farm because that's where I really learned a lot about fruit and buying fruit and what's good to use when. So
how has living on a farm affected your baking?
Well, I think that I had to change my ideas about certain things. Like I used to always peel peaches whenever I made anything, but now I've realized I've had so much fruit to experiment with that I can use a lot of recipes without peeling peaches. Like our jam, for instance, we don't peel our fruit.
That's so good. No, I don't either.
Yeah, the pectin is in the skin and it makes richer flavor and thickens it up. So,
well, let's start with your cake, your plum cake.
Right. Well, this is a recipe I learned a long time ago, and I use it all the time. So we have to do the caramel. So we're gonna melt the butter in the pan. So it's about 2 ounces of butter. This is a 9-inch cake pan.
Okay.
And then 3/4.
Just melt it right in the pan.
So low flame.
So we're making like a caramel on which to place the fruit.
Melt the butter and sugar together, and then 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar.
So I'm so glad you brought your whole family.
I know, we've had a great time.
From the West Coast to the East Coast.
Yeah. Just gonna kind of stir it together. It seems like it won't come together, but it'll melt out perfectly into the edges of the pan. You can also make this in a cast iron skillet.
Oh yes.
The cake layer will be a little thinner, but I like to use a cake pan just because it's easier to invert and unmold.
So that's almost done?
That's about done, yeah. Just let it sit and it'll cool pretty quickly.
Good.
Okay.
All right, that's easy.
So then we're going to put the fruit slices into the pan. Instead of taking them and playing them all around, I'd like to just keep them kind of intact.
Oh, I see.
It's a little easier too, and just sort of splay them out.
Okay, well, I can do that.
Okay, and then there'll be some little gaps in between, but that's actually a perfect place to put other fruit. The other night I did it with figs.
Oh.
Cranberry and pear make a really wonderful upside down cake too. So I'm going to start making the batter, and in here we have 4 ounces of butter. Unsalted butter, softened, should be soft. And then I'm going to do 1 cup of sugar. Just going to add that slowly and let that get light and fluffy. These are egg yolks, so the eggs should be room temperature. And then I'm going to add to it a teaspoon of vanilla, because I love vanilla. And add the egg yolks one at a time, the vanilla. Let that get incorporated, and then the last egg yolk. So I like to use buttermilk in this recipe, although you can use whole milk, but I like buttermilk because I love the tanginess of butter.
So do I.
And it also adds a little tender crumb. So this is 1.5 cups of flour with 2 teaspoons of baking powder and a teaspoon of salt, beginning and ending with the flour. I'm just going to add half, and then I'm going to add buttermilk. You want to keep it on low speed because you don't want it to get over mixed. We separated the eggs, so over here I have the egg whites. So you just want soft peaks.
So not really a meringue, not too fluffy.
So I'm going to add just a little bit of these whites just in here, and then I'm going to fold the rest in. I'm just going to add a little bit to lighten the batter. You can also add orange or lemon zest at this point to the batter to go with whatever fruit you're making. The oven should be at 350.
Okay.
So we're just going to put this out into the pan. 350 degrees. We're going to bake it until the middle springs back. When it's about 50, 60 minutes, and a skewer comes out clean. A lot of times with upside down cakes, the middle doesn't get baked all the way, and they sag a little bit when you invert them. And this cake, because of the sugar, it gets very, very dark on the top. So,
but use light brown sugar, not dark brown sugar.
Right, light brown sugar. So that way you get the color of the fruit comes through.
So I'll get it in the oven for you.
Great.
Set your timer, 50 minutes, check it. I have to be in for a little bit. Right. Can't wait to taste. So this has come to room temperature.
A little bit warm. You want to wait about 20, if you can stand it, wait about 20, 25 minutes
Well,
before you
otherwise you
invert
might
it.
get burned, right?
And if you have to make the cake well ahead of time and you need to let it cool for too long before you invert it, you can always warm up the stove and just sort of swirl, like move it around a low flame.
Just to loosen
Just
the
to sort of melt
sugar.
Yeah.
So then I'm going to invert this. And if it's too hot, you won't be able to do it. And if it's too cold, it won't come out. So it has to be just right. You never know what you're going to get.
There.
I'm not going to let anybody see until I look.
That looks wonderful.
I would say that's really pretty. Let's see. There.
That's great.
Oh, that is so delicious looking.